discovering how we can do time travel so I can go back in time and slap baby Pablo for that terrible, terrible piece. Gross.
Dear God, I'm surrounded by my own work. This is amazing. I'm like a pharaoh. This is like all my life's accomplishments. It's great.
Pablo was a blowhard even in high school.
That's
Shocker.
accurate, actually. If anything, we have proof of that conclusively. Okay, I'll tweet this out.
All right. We get the question while Pablo works on. It was stressful.
Yep. Let's do it. All right, first topic, and not the most interesting series, but I do think there are aspects of it that are interesting. And the question is James Harden being over the hill really the story of the 76ers Heat series?
I feel like Alabaster is being too transparent with us now. Before he was trying to sell us on just like how all of these dishes were delicious, and now he's like, look, guys, this meal's not going to be that great. But how about this aspect of it?
I told Wosny Big Wos that we don't deal in lies here. Like if even the producers are honest, if we are having chicken salad today, then we're having chicken salad today. But one thing we are not going to deliver is what the chicken salad is made out of. So I think, to be fair, that feels like the big question. Like this series is about extension or not extension. And
salad or
that
shit.
is the
That's
question.
What the series is. Yeah. What are we doing? What are we eating?
The answer is hell nah. Don't chase this with some bad money. What you think, Wos?
Look, the story of the series, why they've gotten smoked basically for 2 games, is that their MVP hasn't played a single minute, for sure. But also the fact that they're 2 losses away from elimination and having to face the decision of what to do with James Harden. That's a big story. But at the same time, I don't think it's that much of a story because we kind of seen this before. Daryl Morey's not going to be around for year 5 of the Harden extension. Okay, we seen what he did with Russell Westbrook already. A guy who he trashed in the media. I specifically remember a podcast we did with him on True Hoop where he trashed Russell Westbrook's MVP case in 2017.
He was reckless. Daryl, if nothing else, is reckless on podcasts.
Dude, he was like, this guy has no case. He's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Then like 2 or 3 years later, traded for the guy, right? And then again, he quit right afterwards and was like, you guys do what you guys have to with this mess that was created partially by me. I think the same thing's going to happen with Harden. He's going to max the dude out because there's no way for them to actually replace him. And he's not going to be here for the fallout. So he'll be straight. He'll get another job if he wants it. That's how this is going to play out.
So hold on though. Because, okay, I want to acknowledge one thing before I do the thing that I'm about to imagine how mad Heat fans are at me for doing. Because they want to talk about how they're like 12-2 since the whole Jimmy Butler, Eric Spoelstra like thing on the bench. They want to talk about how Heat culture is amazing. Instead, I want to talk about the Sixers here because, Woz, the defense of James Harden, I mean, to be his defense attorney right now is to point out that, yes, Embiid is not there. They're triple teaming him. When he passes the ball, his teammates are not hitting shots. They were like 8 for 30 from 3. And it's the fact that, James Harden cannot be evaluated under these circumstances. And then you throw in like the hamstring or the leg thing still. The case for James is to say, we can't evaluate him based on a series specifically like this one.
Well, the tough thing about that is before he got traded from the Nets, we were like, all right, maybe he's dogging it because he wants to get traded. Then he gets to the 76ers, and we're like, all right, he's pacing himself for the playoffs. Then he gets in the playoffs, like, yeah, we didn't need big game James yet. Right now, we haven't gotten to the situation where we really need him.
James.
Now, I mean, I'm sorry, James Worthy.
That's his name at Follies. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
I was gonna say there's this.
Apologies to James Worthy, but we get to the point where we actually do need you in 2 back-to-back games, and you ain't been there. So I don't know how we can justify giving him this strip club stimulus package for the next several years if he ain't gonna put the ball in the hole. And no, that is not the name of a strip club that James Harden would go to.
Why would you take that assist away from me? I mean, Doc Rivers just had that quote. Put the quote back down, please, Alabaster / Mr. Cellophane, however we're doing the cards today. Because Doc Rivers did have this quote acknowledging how bad the offense was around James Harden. And he said this, quote, I mean, holy goodness, we had some wide open looks. And I guess Wide Open Looks is the name of a strip club that James Harden. But the point is true. The point is true. Like, this was a game that was actually like winnable until the Heat absolutely ran all the way away from this in the fourth quarter, right? Like, that's where this got out of hand. And so I guess, do we praise the Heat, Waz? Like, where does the Heat come into the equation here?
Look, I saw a stat from my man Cooper Moorhead, probably the most plugged in Miami Heat reporter that there is, that the Heat, whenever Tyler Hero or Jimmy Butler involved DeAndre Jordan in a pick and roll, they had a 166 offensive rating. That's it. That's the game. Okay. And Doc Rivers did it. Said, like it or not, guys, we're gonna play DeAndre Jordan. Whatever. And I think DeAndre Jordan has been kind of like beaten down pretty badly, maybe not as deservingly as some other guys on his team, but they can't stop this team when this team puts his mind to it. These two games have been glorified exhibitions because, and the reason why, Pablo, because it's not like James Harden can do anything about it.
Yeah.
So that, like, what are we really talking about here?
So James Harden is not a flexible player. Like, I think that's what you want for somebody who's cost that much money. So James Harden, even if James Harden is at his peak, you needed a specifically calibrated team to get the very best out of him. And the best out of him was potentially championship worthy, with exception of that aberration of a game 6 against Golden State.
27 straight threes.
Right. So they are not that. And this team is not constructed that way. And in no point in the future does anybody think they're going to construct a team around the best version of James Harden when we still don't have the best version of James Harden? So I don't know what the future is for them in Embiid, but I do think we should give the Heat some love. However, I'm sorry, they're boring. Like, I don't know how you can say a team where the coach and the players are fighting each other and Jimmy Butler's there and they're in Miami, but like, they have not had an interesting series yet. I want to give them some love. Like, I'm a fan of the LeBretard and Friends whole universe, and I know how angry they're going to be that no one cares about them. But there's no story here. Like, y'all destroyed a team that was bad. Now you're destroying a hobbled team that wasn't good to start with. Like, it's not that much fun.
Alabaster, what is your interjection here?
Okay, I have a couple of them. First one, Domonique, I have to push back a tiny bit on that because that's sort of been the story of the postseason for the past few years. Like, you have to beat the teams in front of you, and like, we don't fault the Bucks just because Giannis put up a 50-piece in Game 6 in the finals last year, but they beat a team where, you know, Chris Paul got hurt. They beat injured Trae Young in the conference finals, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, the Heat can be a champion that we respect, even though they're beating up on hobbled teams.
Oh, no, I think you are making an argument that I wasn't making. I'm explaining why we don't talk about them. Not whether they're good or not. I think they're very good. I think their point differential does not suggest they're as good as their ranking suggests, but that's a whole nother argument. They're still a very good team. I'm just saying, like, I want to be talking about them right now, but I'm scanning my head for things that are worth talking about, like Duncan not getting a lot of minutes despite getting paid a lot.
I love that.
Like,
I do kind of love that.
That's not fun. Okay, let's do that then.
I can't believe I just defended Heat culture.
Yeah, Alabaster
devastating my brand.
The distinction that Domonique and we are trying to make here is that the Heat are a very good basketball team. We just don't want to acknowledge that.
No. Let's do 5 good minutes about Duncan Robinson getting sat on the bench. Like,
please, God, no.
It's not interesting. I'm sorry, guys. I want it to be interesting, but it ain't.
Yeah, plus 90 point differential.
And by the way, Alabaster, just so we're clear, I want people to understand, I absolutely denigrated the accomplishments of the Suns and the Bucks all playoffs long last year. That's all I did the whole playoffs. I was like, y'all should have lost to the Lakers. Such and such was hurt. This was BS. The Clippers team was without 2 of their best, whatever. I killed those teams all playoffs long last year. So, but look, the Heat, I think no matter who they play next round is going to be a formidable opponent. They've done their job against a weakened Philadelphia 76ers, and I'll look forward to those series. And I will say, basically every single playoff series that isn't the Heat and Sixers will be a compelling one from here on out. So that's something to look forward to if you're a fan.
Alabaster, I hope you're interjecting here to point out that Joel Embiid might return in this series. I hope you're about to do that.
He's back in Game 3.
I am, and the question I have is because obviously Heat boring, Heat culture overrated. it's a creation of Miami fans who are very loud on
South
Twitter. But
Beach media.
Anyway, question I have: Embiid is poised to return, but the question I have for you is how different would this series have gone if Joel Embiid was there? Because right now they're building a wall and defending James Harden like he's still a superstar. That's not possible if you have the MVP or second place in the MVP voting there in the middle at the nail dominating.
Yeah,
I mean, I think these teams are evenly matched. And as a matter of fact, if Philly was healthy, I feel like most experts would have picked Philadelphia to win this series, probably in 7 games or so. But I think they would have gotten picked. It makes all the difference. However, as you guys obviously know, because you work in the sports media industrial complex, the playoffs don't start until a home team loses.
That's right.
So the playoff series hasn't even started yet.
Well done.
Honestly. So Joel can come right back in, and he's right back into the playoffs because the home team hasn't lost yet.
The Heat fans were so mad. Ryan Cortez, we're now telling him, not only do we not acknowledge how good your team is, this series hasn't even started yet.
No.
Oh, man.
Just Ryan Cortez.
I'm not sure I agree that the series would definitely be different with Embiid, but I'm not sure I agree that the Heat would lose. But maybe I got too much respect for Bam. What is Bam's numbers against Embiid throughout them going at each other? Because I feel like they probably do not play in my favor, despite the fact that I imagine that Bam is a credible Embiid defender. But I feel like Embiid probably eats Bam's lunch, even though I imagine Bam is better than he is.
Yeah, run those numbers if you can, Alabaster and Mr. Cellophane. But I imagine that, Joel Embiid it's going to require, multiple bodies to stop that dude. Bam is not seen as well. Okay,
I know you do.
What you got?
So in games between Bam and Embiid, Embiid is actually only averaging 22 and 11 with 2.5 assists per game. So Bam has been pretty effective. The Heat are
culture,
7-6 against Embiid in those games.
Culture. I love those culture tees, though. That is incredible merch.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't, like, as a grown man, you don't want to walk around with sports apparel on in certain instances. Like, it's not very versatile.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but while I was in Vegas, I had a couple of my friends and my cousin meet me out there. Me and my cousin, we look alike. We're standing in the lobby waiting for our elevator to come up. 2 older, like 50, 60-year-old white dudes walk over to us, and they're waiting for the elevator too. My cousin has on a soccer jersey. He was like, "You guys play soccer?" So, like, I'm accustomed to this as a relatively young black man with more money than most young black men. Like, I've been, like, stereotyped as an athlete before. It makes me angry to have to be like, yeah, I guess. But in this particular scenario, like, the one thing we are not is soccer players. Have you ever seen a soccer player walk around in a hotel lobby in his freaking soccer jersey? So my cousin, being the quick-witted guy that he is, looked at the guys and was like, "Nah, y'all fishermen?" Because the guy had on a hat that said something about fish life or whatever. I don't know. And the guy was like, "No."
Was it Bass Pro Shop?
No, that
I would have liked. No,
not a sponsor, by the way.
You gotta go French accent there, Domonique. You just started good. You gotta go. I am. Je suis Paul Pogba.
Mbappe. You know what? Thierry Henry. I saw him at the halftime of the Real game yesterday. Man, sexy. Like he looks phenomenal.
Glowing.
Absolutely great.
He looks phenomenal. The suit. Everybody else at the desk, meh. Thierry Henry, I didn't know what he was talking about. I couldn't hear it through his Gobert accent, but it sounded sexy.
By the way, speaking of impersonators, I do love, Woz, have you noticed all of the Drake impersonators that just pop up now and are credibly just like...
So, this is crazy, but I was with a buddy of mine who's like a DJ, and he got booked in Charleston, South Carolina last weekend. And he asked me to come. He was like, "It's a free trip. They're going to pay for it. Basically, you're my manager. We're going to go out to South Carolina." I was like, he had never been there before. He's an LA kid. Going to the South, Dixie. He was, he's a Salvadorian. He's like, "Yo, I don't really want to go there." by myself. I was like, all right, cool. I heard Charleston has incredible food.
And he brought your black ass?
Yeah, he brought me. Exactly. Like, bro, that was not the play. That was not. Clearly should have found one of our white friends. Anyway, we're at one of his gigs, and Izzy Drake was there.
What?
He was freaking there. So a dude comes up to the booth, and he slaps hands with my boy who's the DJ, and he slaps my hand. I'm not paying attention. I just see the OVO Al sweat, and I look up, and it's a light-skinned dude with a chin-strap beard, and I was just like,
stop it.
What does your mother think of this, bro? Like, is your mom like you're doing club appearances impersonating another man? That is absurd.
Does he get paid?
Anyway, yeah, I literally saw Izzy Drake in the flesh. I'm pretty sure he got paid. They had to pay for his flight and his hotel to get to
Domonique, I don't know if I've had a better
fun in Charleston before.
I don't know if I've had a better jump pass in the history of the show than that. I had no idea where that was going, and it turned out to actually hit home.
And I don't know if there's multiple Izzy Drakes out there, but I saw one decently convinced. Although this guy was a lot chubbier, Drake has a personal trainer.
That's the thing.
He actually kind of has a jawline, which. You remember
Fake Clay?
Drake didn't have one. He was kind of chubby.
Clay.
You remember Fake Clay? I remember.
I don't remember.
So here's the thing. I was like celebrating Fake Clay, and then someone like not milkshake ducked him, but like something adjacent to that, and I was just like, oh, I can't celebrate Fake Clay anymore. Like he has a problematic. Can we get all right? What's next? Mr. Cellophane hand.
Hold on. Before we move on, Fake Clay, you don't get a lot of credit because, as my man Dragonfly Jones once said, Clay has a creative player face. Like just a light-skinned dude with a goatee. It's like, come on.
I mean, I feel like Clay and Drake not too far off. I feel like if Clay Thompson needed a Halloween,
if he grew a chin strap, if
Drake,
Clay
he
grew
had
a chin
one
strap.
at one point, didn't he? No. Oh no, he just
I
had
don't
the
know if
goatee.
connected.
He
Yeah,
just
I
had
don't
the
know if
goatee.
connected, which I can relate to personally.
You keep it moving. We're enjoying ourselves.
All right. Well, making it for the viewers. Let's go. Next topic. Are the Mavericks asking too much of Luka?
Yes. We are asking too much of our viewers to love our stories, and also the Mavericks are asking way too much of Luka because what happened in the second half was borderline just like veteran cruelty by Chris Paul.
I want to hear what Wosny has to say because I got something cooking that you might like.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
You know what's so interesting? Last night in the first half, Luka Doncic just cooking with gas. There's nothing they could do with him.
Incredible.
Some of the best wing defenders in the league. Some people think Mikal Bridges should have won Defensive Player of the Year. He was destroying everyone. It was embarrassing. I'm like, man, this dude is 22 years old. He's probably the best offensive player in the NBA. What am I missing with this guy? And then the second half, I learned the answer. Like, LeBron at his best was guarding Derrick Rose, the MVP on an island, getting every single rebound. Yes, he was still playmaking. Yes, he was still the scorer. Yes, he's meeting Tiago Splitter at the rim. Like, he was doing everything. And I think that's where Luka has to have his come to Jesus moment, where it's like, bro, you got to get in better shape, because if you are going to be the guy who insists on doing this one high stuff all the time, all game, and you get all the glory, like, you got to have it in the fourth quarter. That's just what it comes down to. Like, you can say you were tired from carrying the burden, but like, bro, like, if you're gonna be that person, you have to bring it in the fourth, and you have to not get killed off the dribble by Jay Crowder. I mean, come on, that's embarrassing.
What
Jay Crowder like 4 times was just like, I'm taking you off the dribble. What the Suns did to him yesterday, and I said this on our Ringer podcast, shameless plug, Ringer NBA podcast, go check that out. They got to put Luka in foster care. Call BCW, Child Protective Services. It was child abuse what they did to him, man. Like, terrible.
You, sir. I appreciate that you got to that, because that's all I want to get to is, like, I'm watching Luka make his dirty faces, and I'm loving it. I'm watching Luka put people in a spin cycle and score, and then walk to the fans with his face all turned up like something stank, and I love it.
When he dropped the 3, and he was like,
watch him hit a 3, count it off, and then give him the stanky face where his lips touch his nostrils. All that. I love it. Love it. And then I watched them do the same thing to him on the other end of the floor. They seek him out. You
they
can't
hunted
be
him.
like they are seeking him out, and that to me is like as much as that ruins the question for me. Because the question isn't about are they giving Luka enough or whatever the question was, like can they help him more? I don't know. Because he can't help himself, and I don't know if he's out of shape or what, but it's Harden-esque. And the one thing about Harden is, as we talked about earlier, they completely constructed a team around him to pick up his deficiencies. That's not what the Mavs are.
Domonique, you play DB. Could you cover a receiver if you weren't in a stance?
Wait, but wait.
You are an elite athlete.
This is
Doncic is nobody's idea of some agile. He's not even in a stance.
He's not a combine guy. He ain't gonna blow up the combine.
No. Look, okay. I'm glad you brought up the football aspect of this because, admittedly, yes, Luka Doncic is not in shape. He played himself into shape all season, hasn't really hit the shape that we need him to be in yet.
They always say played himself into shape, but I ain't seen him in shape yet.
Exactly. I'm with you. However, the football analogy is instructive here to me because the question is not just could you cover, a receiver if you're not in your stance or whatever. It's also could you cover that receiver if you're also playing receiver when you're not playing defensive back? Because Luka Doncic is also just exhausted, right? Like the first half was him exhausting himself, doing all the things that made Reggie Miller say, I'm going to count how many things he did here. And he doesn't know how to count all the way to like the number because it was so big. And in the second half, I love Reggie. I hate Reggie, but I love Reggie. The second half, though.
You don't got to count when you can shoot. You go to Regis if you want to count.
But the fact is, we'll count this number here, right? 35 for Luka, 31 for the rest of the starters. That helps inform why the second half was so disastrous. Because by the second half, Chris Paul is just demanding switches, so he gets to pick on Luka, who is just tired as hell, man. He had no shot.
You guys both have watched basketball for as long as I have. This is so new to me, and this is a product of the analytics, I guess, age of just hunting these people on defense. And it makes me a little bit happy because as a defensive back who once played
it happens in football,
though.
Who
once played opposite Champ Bailey for 2 seasons.
And that's what they did to
I know what it's like. I know what it's like. To be clear, we were 13-3 and I balled. However, I know what it's like to walk out there, and it's not a good feeling for everybody in the stadium or not, everyone in TV just to know the spotlight is on you. And Chris Paul, of all people, they point you out, they call for your man for the screen, and it's like, come on out here to the middle. I want to see you. Like that has to feel terrible.
But before they did that, they were doing the stuff where he's guarding Booker off the ball. And then it's just like, we'll run you off screens for open threes. All right, now that we're done running you off of screens and getting you tired that way, we're going to bring you to the top of the key and make you guard man-to-man against the point guard. It was nasty what they did to him.
There's no hope. There's no hope. If their best offensive option is give him the ball and let him work, it's exhausting. It doesn't look tiring, but it's exhausting to dribble as much as he dribbles.
Of course.
It's exhausting. You have to do that on one end, and on the other end, we are going to put you in ISOs or run you off screens. Like that's too much to ask of Luka.
And we got to give Chris Paul his props too, because I think in 2 ways he's a model superstar for the 2 guys we talked about today. James Harden. Chris Paul had a messed up hammy his last year in Houston. He got his body right, made sure he got his hammy right. He's really in tune with his diet, conditioning, et cetera, et cetera. He looks better than he has in the previous 2 seasons at 37 years old. So he's rededicated himself and his body. James Harden has never been, he has no reputation for doing something like that.
He's playing himself into shape
still,
James Harden.
There's a model for James Harden to get to something close to his pre-hamstring injury in Brooklyn. Luka. Chris Paul in the first half, shouts to my man Steve Jones on Twitter. He said, I feel like Chris Paul is in data collection mode in the first half.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's letting everybody else cook. Yeah. He's not dominating the ball. And then when the fourth quarter comes, he's like, give me this damn thing. It's my time to do this.
I have a hard time.
And he had the energy to do it, man.
I love it, and I'm a big Chris Paul fan, but I have a hard time celebrating Chris Paul being a model veteran just weeks out from a nut punch. And just weeks out from a nut kick.
Thank you for reminding us.
If you give me a year or 2, I can go ahead and put it out of my memory and say, no, that's the old Chris Paul. We just a couple weeks out from him inadvertently kicking a man in his midsection, his testicles.
We can't let the testicular terrorists win. We make that mistake all the time because Chris Paul is that good.
Yeah.
Alabaster.
Particular terrorist. That's beautiful alliteration. Pablo, when you gonna start writing again?
That's what I'm saying, guys.
When are you gonna start writing
Never.
again? We need
I
that.
know.
Never. He gonna start writing. I'll tell you what he start writing when people start reading again. People stop reading. Pablo stop writing.
Yeah,
I am a capitalist.
People start watching and listening. Pablo start talking.
I am one of those people with the audio book stuff. I'm one of them.
I'm with it. I when I first got to ESPN, I was writing too.
Then
I was like, then I went to them.
Writer was very good at it.
I went to them and was like, renegotiation time. Now I'm gonna need some more money, and they was like, well, to be clear, ain't no money coming from over here. The money coming from was on that screen. So like, all right,
yes,
let's get a haircut. And start talking fast.
Similarly, guys, I used to write at The Athletic. I got hired by The Ringer. They're like, we don't, it doesn't matter. And I was like, okay, thank you.
Yep.
And now we're just dancing in these boxes until we get money. Give us those coins. Smash that like button.
Send me some lines.
We're basically
giving away.
We're
giving away trade secrets here.
The trade secret is that we're all cam girls now. So yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh man, I don't know what the interjection was, but
fans.
I'm sure
Tip
it's changed.
$50 and I will take this laptop to the hot tub. I promise you.
Oh boy. Man.
So I do have one Luka question, and I want to before we get there, I want to put down a stat that
Luka be a cam girl
to the audience. And that is the amount of points per possession when Luka was the defender. 1.81 points per possession when Luka was the on-ball defender. He was a matador last night. But the reason I put this stat down is Luka, as we know, is averaging more points per game than anyone in the history of the postseason. He's had LeBron comparisons for his offensive load that he has to carry. But the question I have for you is a series like this changing the way that we have to think of Luka? Is he not someone you can build a team around, sort of like LeBron? Is it closer to the Steph of it, where Steph he's made himself an average and above average defender, but they had to build a team with length and athletes around him to protect him? Is that what it's going to have to be with Luka? It's not just going to be a roll the ball out and have Luka carry you to a championship eventually.
Okay, let's get something straight here. This is the problem with LeBron, that I really feel like people don't understand how great this guy is. Hundreds of millions of people have probably picked up a basketball in their life. LeBron is either the best or the second best at it ever. Like, whatever the percentage is of hundreds of millions.
I like the idea of making it not just the league, but all of the planet. That is how you make the numbers bigger, Domonique. That's a veteran move.
He's a pro.
Bill Simmons is also livid that you called him the second best player of all time, but proceed.
All of humankind, LeBron is probably the second best player ever. So, like, the standard can't be LeBron.
Right.
Like, it just can't be LeBron, right? However, we can ask Luka to just not be horrible on defense. I don't think that's too much to ask. And he's shown in the past that he can be. He knows where to be because he's such a cerebral player. And he's not completely, stuck in the mud as far as, chopping his feet and getting in the defensive stance. That's not too much to ask for. However, he had a 50% usage in the first half yesterday. 50%.
I think part of the question, I want a little clarification on the question, is I think most superstars are like Steph. Is there anybody else other than LeBron who's like LeBron?
No.
Like, is there anybody else?
Maybe Giannis.
But even still, though, you need shooters around Giannis, right? Yeah. That's part of the thing.
I mean, and I guess LeBron the same is true. It's like you can't just you could put anybody around him, he'll get you to the finals.
They did that.
You can't just put anybody around him and get into the championship game. So yeah, I mean, I think Luka is a superstar. That's what you have to do for superstars.
He reminds me, Alabaster. I think we've circled around the player he reminds me of the most, and this is both an insult and a compliment. But it is kind of James Harden.
Yeah, and I think I asked the question poorly. I shouldn't have compared it to LeBron. But I guess the bigger question is does being exposed like this defensively sort of change the way that you think about this guy because he had put together such a historic run so early in his career?
It's an extreme condition right now, playing the Suns when you're by yourself. And again, Is it different if Jalen Brunson is actually the guy that we thought he was coming out of the first round, as opposed to the guy who in round 2 is 11 points a game, 32% from the field, as opposed to 28 for 48%? Yeah,
the LeBron comparison you're looking for is, it would be unfair if any foolish person held LeBron's like NBA Finals record against him. Like that's the same unfair as holding this series against Luka. Like his team is not even close to competitive here. He needs to get better on defense, but I think his playoff success has been a testament to him, just like LeBron's playoff success was a testament to him. It shouldn't be like counted against him necessarily because the team's not ready.
Dude, according to NBA.com, the Suns are shooting 70% in mid-range. League average is like 41.
Damn.
Yeah.
They're shooting in the playoffs.
me
They're
down.
shooting 70%. Okay, like
That's a big
the
number.
reason why the Mavs got cooked is because collectively they can't stop this. They can't stop them, and
at
that's a
all.
personnel thing. You know, Powell and Maxi Kleber, like that was cool against the Jazz, who are a nice offense. This is when you watch what the Suns are doing, like they're running like 20 different things at you.
Yeah.
They have counters
That's
for
the
your
thing.
counters.
That's the thing.
It's ridiculous. They're running it as hard as possible it's ridiculous what they're doing out there.
And even Monty Williams, the guy, and Waz is right about all of that, but Monty Williams could be doing like the look at what a genius I am thing, but after the game, he's just like, I got the better players.
Yeah.
I have Devin Booker,
sure that.
I have Chris Paul. It's because of them, and that's the story.
Can we give a little love to Ayton and even McGee? Because I think if we look back at the last round, the Maxi Kleber brought that to my mind. It's like Gobert, as great a rim protector as he is, like Maxi was getting them wide open threes because Gobert could not or would not extend out there. And like Ayton, he's become good on offense, so good in a way that he doesn't even require Chris Paul to like get him open to get shots anymore. Like he can create offense on his own, but I think what's more impressive is that he has the athleticism to play perimeter defense.
Yeah, Aiden, God, I mean that finals run that Waz crapped all over before. Yeah, he was like leading NBA playoff history in field goal percentage.
Yeah,
like in the postseason, they know how to.
Really good team.
They have jobs.
And they got real
know how to do
backups
those
for him
jobs.
this year,
They
which
have
is
real
nice.
backups too.
James Jones is doing his damn thing. The man learned a simple lesson from last year.
Champ.
Went and got some backup centers and is ready to go. If they don't win the finals this year, it's going to be because of injury or somebody needs to get fired.
Yeah.
Damn.
I ain't say who. Somebody got to go.
Oh yeah, I like how Domonique went from James Jones is doing an incredible job. Also, if they lose, he's fired.
Somebody, not James Jones.
By the way, so Domonique,
James
I love
Jones
it.
is
I
not
want
going
to
to
go
get
back
fired.
to
Somebody else should get fired.
The whole like, you know, you're playing alongside Ed Reed and you're playing alongside these cornerbacks. So if like Revis Island is an island, what's Foxworth? What's the noun there? What community? What body?
Archipelago?
It depends on a series of islands. It depends on it depends on what season you're talking about. But I mean, there's sometimes when it was a highway and people was coming in and leaving whenever they wanted to. But there was other times when it was a tiny little island out there. So I don't know. It depends. It's like the polar ice caps it's constantly changing how much landmass there actually is or isn't.
By the way, just so we're clear on another thing, because we talked about LeBron, him and Ty Lue came up with this bum hunting strategy against the Warriors in the 2016 finals.
Great point.
And they were doing it to Steph constantly. It was mean. It was rude.
Is that what
LeBron was doing?
Is that what they call it in the inner circles of basketball?
Yes, it's bum hunting.
It's called bum hunting. Do we have an Elmer Fudd meme going around?
We find the bum and we just go
no,
out.
no,
Is there
yeah.
an Elmer Fudd meme connected
It's a very important distinction. Bum hunting is this practice. Bun hunting is the name of a strip club that James Harden was.
So speaking of bum hunting, let's move on to the next topic.
In the UK? It might be the same thing if we're in the UK. I think a UK strip club.
Ooh,
we're
good
doing
point.
NBA International, baby. Let's go
Very
to bum
cosmopolitan.
hunting and make
Yep.
it rain.
In it.
Good point.
Let's talk about Pablo's
In it.
favorite bum, and
In
we're
it.
gonna go to a what are the chances here, and what are the chances game? We'll give you a topic. You tell us the chances it's gonna happen. And what are the chances that that bum Ben Simmons will be on the Nets next year? And this is because he just had back surgery. He'll be out 3 to 4 months. He didn't
mental
play.
illness. We can't call him a bum.
Why are we burying the lead here? Because the question is absurd. It's 100% he's going to be on the Nets next year.
Because he can't be traded.
Because he's a max contract, 3 years left, $100-something million remaining. But the actual story to me is like, hey guys, do you believe him now? Do you believe that he actually has back problems now? He's having back surgery. He's going to need 3 to 4 months to... And Woz is scratching his head like he thinks the Clutch Industrial Complex is at work here. And I'm just wondering, is there a fake surgery that you think he's having? Or what do you think is happening here?
I don't know. I can't call it. What was this guy doing for 5 months during his lockout? Or his holdout? What was he? That he didn't know that he needed a procedure, or what was happening from his crib in the hills in LA that he couldn't figure out what his back or physical issue was. There's just so many weird things happening with Ben Simmons that you just can't know. Will he be on the Nets? They can't move him. Now that he's got back surgery, he's got all this money that's owed to him. He's got a history of not showing up to work. They have to keep
Why
him.
does Stephen A. Smith just inhabit your body just there? How did we get to
showing
that
up
point?
to work?
Listen. Because
work.
Because look,
Domonique Stephen A. has gotten really good.
All of this like player empowerment, yada yada yada, whatever. Right? It's predicated on fair pay for fair work. Like you gotta actually like
The
work.
union man, I hear you.
You just
the CBA was
you just gotta
the CBA,
show up to work.
That fight, they can opt out of the CBA in December. Ben Simmons is just one of the examples here that's going to cause that fight to be a real fight about how can we get money in exchange for services as opposed to money in exchange for existence.
But listen, hold on. Listen, Pablo, I used to work at UPS back when I was in college, right? Like in the factory or whatever. I was a package handler. I was in the sort aisle. There were people in the sort aisle.
Yes, I knew.
Union members, by the way. There were people in the sort aisle who were not as good as others in the sort aisle, but they were there. Mm-hmm. Meaning, show up to work and be trash.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
but
do your
show
best.
up to work.
Yeah,
come on, man.
I mean, to the union perspective, it's really hard. From my negotiation experience, it's really hard to galvanize a group and to have power when people within that group despise other people within that group for what they believe taking advantage. So, like, I think back to before we went into negotiations and before Roger Goodell became the commissioner, there were like a spate of players getting in trouble. One of the trips to Vegas where like 3 or 4 different NFL guys got arrested. Somebody's in my house.
About to get arrested.
Yes. And I remember us like trying to fight against the impending commissioner discipline and like looking behind me and like, we got to stop this. It's not about this individual incident. It's about what is going to happen in the future if something else happens. And everybody looking at me like, oh, we supposed to cape up from Pac-Man? I imagine that this same thing is going to happen and people are going to pay the price because they're going to look around and they're going to call it the Ben Simmons rule. And who among the players is going to want to stand up and be associated with defending the Ben Simmons rule? But ultimately, it's going to cost more players than it's going to help. Like in the long run, there are going to be more players forced into situations that they're uncomfortable with because of what happened in this situation. Then it's going to protect players from showing up to work and not having anybody else who want to work with them.
That's it. I love, and by the way, Domonique also worked on the executive board of the NBPA. He knows of what he speaks. That's just another part of his ridiculous, like, I don't know why you're on this show with me in my high school library.
I forgot Domonique is a Harvard grad as well.
Yeah. No, I went to Maryland, right there. I'm a Terp.
Other side. There you go.
You can tell I'm a Terp.
That's how you know you're a
got
Terp.
it wrong. Yeah. Good old state
Alabaster,
school, baby.
Just put 100% down for everybody. Ben Simmons, Domonique just declared, is also a labor hero, which I did not anticipate.
I did not.
I am also on board. He's a hero. He's Kurt Fly. He's the hero.
I'm saying he's the
Gene
opposite.
Upshaw,
honestly.
Kurt Flood, Ben Simmons. Thank
He's
you.
the opposite.
He's Kurt Flood.
Don't you
That's right.
dare put him in the same sentence with Kurt Flood. Oscar Robertson.
But by the way, it's
He's
not
better
just
at Call
Ben
of Duty than Kurt
Simmons.
Flood.
Bob
It's,
Cousy.
the stuff that Kyrie was doing, not this year with the vaccine
Kyrie's the
stuff,
other
which a lot
name,
of people
of
were
course.
mad. Kyrie actually put his money where his mouth is and was like, don't pay me. I'm not
Yeah.
playing if it's about the vaccine. I'm cool with that. It was the year before where he was taking personal days on his birthday and, you know what I mean? Like the insurrection had him down. And I'm just, bro, I remember asking Sarah Kustak, I was like, yo, are his teammates cool with all this PTO he gets? And it was like, look, when he's here, he hoops. So
Yeah.
I think that's the difference between Kyrie, though. Is
James Harden wasn't cool with it.
Yeah, James Harden was not cool with it. But Kyrie is so good and
Yeah.
does things that other guys can't do. It's so impressive. But though he's really good at defense, Ben Simmons does not command that same type
Credibility.
of on-court respect. So,
Yeah.
so you better show up to work, do your job. Stephen A. said so.
Work.
What does Stephen A. drink? If Stone Cold says, because Stone Cold says so and drinks beer, what does Stephen A. drink after he says, because Stephen A. said so?
All I have is him sipping that green smoothie that one time out of the straw, just like real sassy.
I think that's a good one. Show up to work. Stay up the weed.
All right, guys, we got 2 minutes
Hero.
left, and I want to get to this last one really quick because it'll be a fun punctuation. It's got a piece of media for you here, but the question, what are the chances this is Patrick Beverley's saddest victory lap of the playoffs so far?
Oh boy. Yeah, show it what we're talking about. Yeah, so Patrick Beverley on Twitter declaring 47-piece hand on face emoji. Didn't happen in our series, just saying hashtag facts. Referring to Ja Morant dropping 47.
I mean, what?
I feel like Domonique, you have to.
Bad.
So part of this show, right? Like,
This is
is
bad.
we have a cornerback's perspective running through all of it. This feels like a cornerback move. This feels like an Eli Apple move. This feels like somebody who is finding any excuse to celebrate, even though he's doing it from his couch.
So you're saying this is like when they go deep on the guy, on the cornerback, who's down like 28 points already. He breaks up the deep pass and he does one of these.
but
Not the
even
same.
that.
Not the
even
same.
that.
Not the
Almost
same.
that.
I'm
Because what
fine
is
with
this
that.
really, Dominique? What is
I'm
this
fine.
really?
I'm fine with that because that is still a part of the game. Like anything could happen. You could still come back. You're still playing hard. You're celebrating the little things. It's the opposite. Patrick Beverley is not celebrating. He's hating. Like we ain't out here hating. You know what I mean? Like that's different. That is tantamount to coming out and saying, at least he ain't mossed me. He may have scored 2 touchdowns, but he was 5 yards in front of me. So take that. Like y'all lost. So don't you dare equate this to cornerbackology. We do not believe, condone, or support this foolishness. We get beaten, we go off quietly into the sunset. Try to get off screen. That's one of the strategies. You got to get off a camera frame as quick as possible. When the touchdown
At the
is
same
scored,
time,
scurry.
I feel
Scurry.
like what Patrick Beverley was saying, like, make Ja go right one time. Like once?
Yeah, that part
Like
was.
once?
Can you explain this part to me? Because I feel like a dumb fan yelling this at my TV, but like, why don't they
Pablo,
make him go
stop,
right?
stop,
Because-
stop. Nope. Pablo, you've played basketball against me. Could you stop me from going anywhere I wanted to go? That is the difference in athleticism between Ja and the people trying to stay in front of him. You can put your whole body on the left if you want. He just too quick.
Was Dominique and I played 21 once? It was 21-21 for a really long time. Don't let him spin this narrative. It was a close game. It was tied. And then his athlete, stereotypical athleticism, which he resents, as we learned earlier in the show, came through. So sorry.
Oh God. It was 21-21 because I decided I wanted you to have fun, and then you never got a shot off again. Or whatever.
Hearing that bell while I'm literally at my high school is disturbing. This is traumatic in a bunch of ways for me now.
Did you have fun, Wosny?
I had a great time, man.
Was it as fun as Charleston, South Carolina?
Charleston is actually more fun than you would think.
Nah, I've
Even
been
though it's
before. I
deep
like
in the heart of Dixie, it's actually like its own little oasis. You almost wouldn't know that you were in South Carolina.
It's because they have a tourism economy. When you have a tourism economy, you get real nice.
That's what.
Go outside of there.
Domonique.
And it tourism don't matter. They're gonna treat you just like they think about you.
Would
That's
never
what
go
Foxworth
outside.
Island has. A tourism
Tourism
economy.
economy.